Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining RVA 757 Connect's Innovation Spotlight on Drone Technology. My name is Greg Gilligan. I'm the Communications Director here at RVA 757 Connects. Just wanted to go over quickly today's agenda. We're going to go a little bit over some updates on RVA 757 Connects. Then we will go into our topic, which is, of course, drone technology here in Virginia. We'll have time for some questions and answers, then we'll do some follow-ups at the very end. I just wanted to let you all know that this recording, this session is being recorded. And if you have any questions, use the chat function in Zoom and send your questions to me so that we'll have them at the very end of the program. Let me just tell you a little bit about what's going on with RVA 757 Connects. You know, RVA 757 Connects is an organization that is bringing the power of convening, connecting, and collaborating to the area from the Richmond to Hampton roads to ensure future economic growth and prosperity for everyone in the mega region that we call the I-64 Innovation Corridor. One of our priorities is focusing on seeking funds to widen a 29-mile stretch of Interstate 64 between the Bottoms Bridge exit and the Lightfoot exits that is notorious for traffic backups. The project would cost an estimated $750 million, but it's an investment in the vitality of our mega region as it will benefit workers, commuters, truck drivers, tourists, and businesses. Members of the General Assembly Budget Committee are considering funding options as we speak now. And at the same time, RVA 757 Connects is working with VDOT to gain support to submit a federal grant application for funding. There are lots of benefits to adding a third lane in each direction on Interstate 64 between Bottoms Bridge and the Lightfoot exits. Driving economic growth, for instance, supporting tourism, improving safety, just to name a few. We've been busy this past month in April. As you could tell, we have sent more than 40 letters to individuals, businesses, and organizations seeking their support, both sending letters to the General Assembly members as well as for an application for VDOT to the U.S. Department of Transportation. We've also had two publications, the Richmond Times-Dispatch and the Virginian Pilot, publish the two op-ed columns, one by Aubrey Lane, and the other one in the Virginian Pilot, and the other one written by Ted Chandler, Tom Franz, and John Martin from RVA 757 Connects. We've also appeared on WRVA radio talking about the project as well. But we need your help. Please reach out to members of the House and Senate Budget Committees. Email them this week to express your support for fully funding the I-64 widening project. There's more information about this project under the news section of RVA 757 Connects' website, so please take a look at that, but including the email addresses for the conferee members. But please try to send out an email to them this week. Also, we have been receiving letters of support both for the General Assembly members as well as for the VDOT application to the U.S. Department of Transportation. These are just a few of the letters that we have received so far. But we need your action. We need you to also please participate in this effort as well, to sending a letter to the U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary Budapest to be able to support the VDOT's grant applications. If you email me, I will be able to send you a sample letter as well as some key project points. Another one of our priorities is driving and showcasing innovation in the mega region. It was the findings from the I-64 Innovation Corridor Opportunity Study that was funded in part by a Go Virginia grant. Thanks again to Go Virginia for that funding. The full report is available at RVA 757 Connects' website, so please check it out. One part of the report talks about driving and showcasing greater collaboration and innovation. The report says that an essential ingredient for exceptional economic performance especially in times of unprecedented change, is innovation. The report says RVA 757 Connects should continue to convene audiences in key opportunity areas, ignite collaboration, and showcase innovation originating from the I-64 Innovation Corridor. So that brings us to today's webinar on drone technology in Virginia. You know, drones have been around for quite a while. The first unmanned aerial vehicles were created in the early 1900s. In recent years, drone technology has really come into its own, with drones becoming much more advanced and popular than ever before. Nowadays, drones are used by professionals and amateurs alike for a variety of tasks, from taking photos to aerial mapping, to inspecting power lines or pipelines without putting people in harm's way by doing so, to farming, where drones can be used to improve efficiency of spraying insecticides onto crops, and delivering food, medicine, and other small packages. The bottom line is that drones are rapidly becoming a bigger part of everyday lives. And two Virginia companies are leading the way. Our speakers today, one of them is Tom Walker. Tom was founded DroneUp in 2016 and now serves as its CEO. The Virginia Beach-based DroneUp provides drone delivery and flight services to organizations and communities. Tom will tell us more about DroneUp, which is primarily a primary partner for Walmart's drone delivery service. In fact, a year ago in June of 2021, Walmart made a substantial investment in DroneUp. DroneUp has been testing drone delivery of merchandise from 3 Walmart stores in Arkansas. The company has also used drones to deliver COVID-19 tests to residences in 3 areas across the country, in the Las Vegas area, to a location near Buffalo, New York, and to El Paso, Texas. After Tom talks, his presentation, we will hear from Michael Barrow, who is the founder and CEO of Lineup, which is using drones to transform electric transmission line maintenance. He started the company in 2018 in what began as an independent research project at Virginia Commonwealth University. He's a Richmond native and alum of VCU and Maggie Walker Governor's School. Michael will tell us more about his company's products that they began selling in December. In 2020, Lineup participated in the Richmond-based Lighthouse Labs program for recent college grads that was supported by a Go Virginia Region 4 grant with a matching grant from Activation Capital and for support from the VCU's Da Vinci Center for Innovation. Lineup also participated in the first ever accelerator program held by Dominion Energy Innovation Center in Ashland. So now we will go to Tom will now talk to us about DroneUp.
All right, I'm sharing right now. Just let me know when you can see it.
We can see it.
All right, well, first off, Greg, thank you very much. So I'm going to move through this kind of quickly because there's a lot I could talk about, but I'm going to try to focus on the things that I think matter most to the region. And then we can talk about questions afterwards if you'd like. First off, we are a technology company, and we call ourselves a logistics and transportation technology company providing autonomous drone delivery and drone services. So if you think about the company, as of 2019, we really bifurcated into 2 separate sets of services: your traditional drone services, inspections, aerial inspections, but we're also now a leader in drone delivery. In fact, we're the only company that is doing store-to-door delivery 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, out of 3 locations. By the end of the year, that'll be 33 locations. By the end of next year, it'll be 150 locations throughout the United States. Just as a little trivia point, our average time from the time an order is placed until that order is delivered is 27 minutes. And the #1 most ordered item for drone delivery is hamburger helper. To understand a little bit about why we, I get asked all the time, why do we start the company? I realized that drones and drone technologies were going to fundamentally change the country and change the world. And you could either get in early and make that a positive thing or participate in negative. And so our whole focus has been around safety, promotion of the industry, controlling the airspace, improving processes, operational efficiency, and again, all comes back to a commitment to safety. If you haven't seen our building, it's the old Chartway Federal Credit Union headquarters here off of Newtown Road. And we're proud of the redesign and the remodel, and the AC actually works occasionally. In terms of our growth, we'll talk about this. We think this is pretty significant in terms of the impact that we're having on the region. We've grown from 12 people in January of 2021 to today, we're a little over 200. By the end of the year, we're anticipating we'll be at about 650. We're very proud of the fact that we've had a 96% retention rate over that time, considering how fast we're growing and kind of the seismic shift that's happening under our feet every day when you're adding employees and staff at the rate that we are. We recently had a survey done of our organization by an outside firm, and they found that we had a 52% diverse workforce with over 26%. This says 25 being veterans or spouses of veterans. And because of our growth, we've focused on driving internally, and we've had a 20% promotion rate throughout the organization. Some people who came on right out of high school who are now in management positions because of the opportunities that are created by our growth. When you look at the industry and why we're excited, both of us who are representing the industry, is the growth of the industry. So we talk about enterprise and delivery, enterprise being the inspection services that we do, whether it's simple building inspections, roof inspections, whether it's agricultural, surveillance, security, whatever. The industry is anticipated to grow to north of a $60 billion industry by 2030. A bulk of that growth actually has been, most of that growth has been in the enterprise side and the services side. But as we're able to fly beyond visual line of sight, then that's where we start to see real significant growth. And we're working with the FAA and anticipate that we'll be the first company to actually do delivery at scale beyond visual line of sight, and then obviously continue to capitalize on this industry. Right now, on that delivery side, we have about 90% of the delivery operations that are going on. The actual kind of store to door, as we talk about real-time deliveries here in the United States. Well, we have 100% here in the United States. We hold about 90% worldwide right now. If you look at what we're going to be doing with Walmart, one of the things that we talk about a lot with Walmart is over 90% of the US population lives within 10 miles of a Walmart. We're building our drones and drone technologies to be able to go 10 miles. And so by the time we're actually achieving that beyond visual line of sight at scale, which we think will be sometime between 2023 and 2024, we'll be able to service 90% of the US population out of the Walmart hubs that we will be opening over that period of time. As I mentioned, in addition to the delivery operations that we're doing, our real growth over the last 3 years has been from kind of what you would call your traditional drone services, roof inspections, surveys, cell tower and utility inspections. We've had about a 350% growth in both of those, bridge inspections. And obviously our target types are the companies that represent those type of operations at scale. We like this chart. It's a fun chart, but it kind of gives you an idea of the how in depth we're studying the industries. You'll see the ones that are in green are the areas where we're seeing significant growth. We consider significant growth to be anything greater than 200% year over year. We obviously construction and construction monitoring, construction inspection is really the fastest growing non-delivery vertical right now. Logistics, as we discussed, built infrastructure and environment inspections. We are the leading provider of facade inspections. And we recently completed facade inspections where we inspected the side of all of the MGM casinos in the United States. It was 33.3 million square feet of facade inspections. If you think about that, the impact that has on safety from people not having to be on scaffolding or not having to hang from the side of the building. And then also from a cost saving standpoint, to be able to do those high resolution inspections of those facades, and then process that through some of our AI tools to be able to provide a really significantly better product at a much lower cost and with much higher safety. We hear people talk about, obviously we talk about all the time, Walmart is our catalyst for growth. And we don't talk about this publicly much, but it's out in the internet, it's out there now, so we don't mind sharing it. In 2019, Walmart made a significant investment into our company. It was $100 million for what is a minority position in the company. That's the largest cash investment into a drone company in US history. In addition to that, we signed a $350 million contract, 3-year contract with them, which is also the largest contract. There was some other terms of the contract, which essentially brought the deal to about a $500 million transaction. And if you want to stay awake and stare at the ceiling at night, imagine the pressure that puts on our team to make sure we're doing that every day. The other impact that the Walmart relationship is having is because we're opening these hubs, and we'll talk a little bit about the hubs, but these are hubs that we're putting at Walmart where we can have robots bring the product out to us. Then we can do the delivery. I mentioned earlier the average delivery time was 27 minutes. I just want to point out that 17 minutes of that right now is waiting for the product. The actual delivery time for us from the time we get the product until we're delivering on the back porch is about 8 minutes. Walmart is committed to us. They're going to get that delivery time down to about 7 minutes. And so we're going to get ours down. So we're looking at sub 15-minute delivery, which we think really meets the impulsive demands of the general public. But in addition to that, we also can do delivery for other organizations and are doing a delivery for other organizations out of those hubs. But more significantly, when it comes to being able to have rapid response with drones, right now we have a large fleet of drone operators, about 22,000 in the US, that are independent operators that we deploy missions to that they can go do, not on the delivery side. But you got to be able to find those pilots and deploy them. What the hub allows us to do is have a staff that is available with drones on standby for rapid response, whether that is immediately going out to a crash scene and getting an overhead, whether it's being deployed by a large security company when a security alarm goes off. Only 2% of the calls that come into fire departments are actual emergencies. So being able to deploy a drone rapidly, put it over the location, stream that data back to whether it's the E911 center or the command center for the security company is allowing us to make more efficient and rapid decisions by assessing the situation on the ground quickly. And then also having these locations scattered throughout these metropolitan areas, we can use drones to transport data, equipment, and other items, whether that's for commercial purposes or whether it's Narcan, AEDs, or other emergency response capabilities. We think that we're in a good position to continue to grow in this industry. You look on the left there, we've flown about 101,000 hours. As I mentioned, that number is low now at 21,000. We got 22,000 network pilots in the US, about 40,000 in 63 other countries. We've got more waivers, and we're operating and providing commercial services to 48 states, governments. So whether that's bridge inspections for the states or other type of commercial services we're providing to 48. I'm not going to tell you who the 2 aren't. But where we're going to be, we anticipate, because of the demand that we have as fast as we're growing, specifically with Walmart, we'll have about 100,000 drones in service over the next few years. Because we're manufacturing all of our drones here in the United States, are all American made and running on our software, which is American software. We are now going to be opening up a manufacturing facility, and we anticipate by the end of 2023 we'll be the largest manufacturer of drones, certainly in the United States, with about 15,000 full-time pilots, 47 hubs, and then delivering about 5 million packages per day. I'm almost done. This is our ecosystem that I talked about, which allows us to operate out of Walmart, deploy rapidly for cell tower inspections, construction, emergency response. But it also allows us to both provide residential delivery out of that hub, whether it's on-demand products or delivering to college campuses or other types of business campuses through our mailbox system. And then, of course, providing intermodal from store to store delivery and resupply. I'll just show you this quick video. This was the video that was taken on our first, when we first launched Walmart, and you can see it's pretty fast, but it gives you an idea of what the operation looks like. That hub there is now a 3-story hub. The most important part of this entire thing is that you're going to see the product delivered to Steve's house. I don't know Steve's last name, but Steve's a local celebrity in Farmington, Arkansas, because he was the first ever commercial delivery of a product, placing the order and having it delivered to his house. So this is actual recording of the very, very first commercial delivery that we did, other drones recording it. And that was 3 cans of Star-Kissed tuna and water. And that's Steve getting his first ever delivery. That was the first commercial delivery that we ever did. I think I did pretty good on time. So, Greg, I think I'm done.
Hey, that was fascinating. I gotta tell you, Tom, I've got lots of questions for you, but we'll hold off and let Michael talk next. But stand by for lots of good questions. Michael, do you want to take us through? Make sure you unmute yourself there, and we'll let you go now.
All right, I'll pull up my slides here and get started. Great presentation, Tom. That was really cool. All right, so let's see. I'll share my screen over here. There we go. Can everybody see that? I'm not hearing any no's, so.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay, good. All right, I'll get going then. All right, so yes, hello everyone. I'm Michael Bayer, the founder and CEO of Lionbird. Really glad to be here today. Thanks to Greg and REA 757 for putting this on. I want to do a quick call out just because I think the mission is really cool. Widening the corridor, making it easier to get back and forth between the 2 regions. I've made a couple of trips myself, particularly going out to visit the 757 Angels group out in the Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. And it definitely would be nice to make that a little easier and also highlight the rail bit there. I love traveling by rail. I'm taking an Amtrak trip to DC for a meeting this week. Because it lets me get more work done. I can sit on my laptop instead of sitting behind a steering wheel. But anyway, I'll launch into this and hopefully I can stick as close to time as Tom did. All right, so here we go. All right, so the problem that Lionbird is out here to solve is the simple one that just work on power lines is really hard. You all have probably seen, the picture on the left in real life, guys climbing up in poles, going up in trucks, working on the lines outside your house or next to the highway. You may not have seen the picture on the right in real life where people actually hang off the sides of helicopters or in harnesses underneath helicopters to do things as simple as just putting little shiny reflective objects on live power lines so that birds don't land on them. So that's the problem we're out here to solve. And the solution we've got to that is a payload system for drones. And I have to tell everyone, oh, you know what? My mistake. So to talk about this a little more, accessing power lines is very dangerous, expensive, and labor intensive. And I'll breeze through this pretty quick because you all probably understand this problem just by looking at it. It creates a bottleneck that prevents the adoption of preventative maintenance strategies for infrastructure, prevents the adoption of new live line technologies that have high deployment costs and risks because of sending manned crews up and down. And most crucially, it slows the energy transition because there's so much critical work that needs to be done to decarbonize our energy infrastructure, and there's just not enough hands to do it. And it's hard to do it in a safe and repeatable and scalable way. So these are all big problems, not a lot of numbers on them. What you can quantify is that in 2019, electric utilities spent over $2 billion on operations and maintenance of their transmission lines. That's just major utilities in the US. That doesn't include the 600 plus co-ops across the country and others that are not included in the figures from the Energy Information Agency. And then also, of course, line work is one of the most dangerous jobs in the country. Tragically, there were 26 lineman fatalities in 2020. That puts it in the same category as law enforcement and construction for hazardous work. So Tom talking about construction and utilities being great applications for drones, he's right on the money. So our solution that we bring to this is a non-conductive system for drones. This is where I was getting to before I started this slide. We call it the Osprey non-conductive payload system and presented as line access reimagined. So our products are what you see beneath the drone in these two boxes. We have the non-conductive payload system that allows linemen's tools that would normally fit at the end of their insulated rods to be fit at the end of the drone for work directly on live power lines. And this allows you to do work for 10 times less cost than helicopters, 4 times faster than bucket trucks, and 4 times cheaper. So a 60x improvement there. Allows companies to reach power lines on all terrains, creates minimal disruption to the public and environment, because who loves having helicopters flying over power lines past their house, creating all that noise and disturbance? Nobody. Something very important for utilities is that it's easy to dispatch and easy to control the logistics of it versus managing large pieces of equipment, getting in and out of right-of-ways. And most critically, creates a minimized risk to crew, because instead of having operators up in high altitude next to high voltage, their boots are safely on the ground while the work is still getting done. And down on the bottom, we've got an adaptation kit for a lineman's tool. That tool, the first one that we built out, is the SensorLink Ohm Stick. It's a tool that's been around for over 2 decades, and it prevents lines from falling down by doing a comprehensive health diagnostic of the joints between power lines, which are frequent failure points and responsible for up to 30% of all incidents where wires fall down and can spark wildfires. Now, the reason we're doing that as our first use case is because 4.5 years ago, when this was just an independent research product at VCU, Dominion Energy asked me to find a way to get that tool on a drone. And that brings us to how we got started and how the team built from there. So back in 2018, Dominion helped team me up with Lee Corbin, who's currently my VP. He's an ex-lineman, used to be what they call a dope in a rope, hanging out for the helicopters, working on live transmission lines. He and I invented the original concept of Linebird, got it patent pending with the help of the VCU Da Vinci Center and a few others. And then later we brought on Chase Coble and David Schul as our CTO and COO, who actually used to be part of the Drone Up Pilots Network through another company locally called RVA Aerial. So it's a cool past interaction between Linebird and Drone Up. But this is the whole team here. So we are not at the 12,000 staff scale whole building yet. We're still quite an early stage company, but we really think we're going to make some positive changes in the industry going forward. And we've got some good reasons to expect strong growth this year. Before I get to that slide, I'm sure you'd like to see a video of how this actually works in practice. So here I'm going to skip through this a little bit. You can see the payload hangs from the drone, approaching power lines from above. And this is quite a large setup for dealing with quite high voltage power lines. But if the drone is specially configured to get closer, you can use something smaller for getting to even tighter spaces, like in between those two lines. This is what the pilot sees as he's flying down on the lines. And this is perspective shot from another drone off to the side. I'm sure Tom also appreciates, just like I do, the fact that when you're a drone company, you don't need to pay marketing companies to come take your own footage, because you've already got awesome flying cameras in your own fleet that you can use whenever you need them to. So I'll skip ahead a little bit here to, I think it's about here is where you can see us actually taking the measurement. It takes a little bit of positioning, and you've got to take multiple readings on different parts of the lines to complete the inspection. But the most important one is right here, where you can see that the tool is across both the connector of the lines and the conductor. And that tells the power company how strong that connection is and whether or not it's likely to fail in the next couple of years. So moving on, we've got our vision for the future in kind of 2 categories of products. We've got the payload systems that will allow for access of different power lines, different configurations from different angles. And then we'll have a broad suite of tools, sensors, and installers for getting various tasks done on live power lines. And one I'm really excited to share with you all today that we just debuted last week at the biggest trade show of the year in New Orleans is this one on the right, which actually installs sensors onto power lines, which opens up a whole new world of possibilities for accelerating innovation in the electric infrastructure sector. So in that video, we've got, this was our first test flight, which was conducted just about a month ago, of this new unit. which will be the third product that works with the Linebird payload system, proven and tested. So you can see it take off from there, and I'll skip ahead just a little bit. I'll mute it here so you don't hear the loud drone overhead as it approaches this conductor on the side. But it approaches from the side here, and there's kind of a mousetrap mechanism on the sensor that needs to be activated to clip onto the lines. So I believe right here, we get in position over here on the conductor, and then it drops down, and now it's activated. So now the sensor is actually installed onto the power line, and all the drone has to do is pull away. So I think it takes a couple of seconds here to start pulling up, and it should clip away right there. And now we have a sensor installed on a power line, and the sky is the limit for what you can do with that and the products that are already out there ready to be integrated with this solution. So, all right, here we go, are the reasons to expect some strong growth here. So over the last couple of years, I'll rapid fire, we did launch the product in Q3 of last year after over 3 years of development with help from Dominion, VCU, and several others. Had our first sales of our product in Q4 of last year, which was really exciting. We actually have this technology patented in Australia, and we're still patent pending in the US and several others. We've also got about 3 or 4 other patents also pending. It's moving pretty fast on the IP side for us. We've had successful demonstrations that I can talk about with Dominion Energy and the Electric Power Research Institute, which is the main kind of R&D body for the power transmission industry. And we're currently in evaluations with over 20 major investor-owned utilities. I can't talk too much about that, but you might be able to needle some of that out of me in the Q&A if you want to try. So in 2020, we, as Greg mentioned, won the pitch competition hosted by the Dominion Energy Innovation Center that helped catalyze our growth into 2020, going through Lighthouse Labs, getting our first utility contracts, and positioning us for our first actual R&D revenue and then first sales and first product launch last year. Some stuff that we've been up to recently, we were a part of the EPRI Incubate Energy Labs pitch day about 2 months ago, where we got to pitch in front of over 20 utilities to evaluate us for pilot projects in the field. We, back in March, had our first trade show of the year, Tech Advantage in Nashville, working with over 600 co-ops in attendance there, coming to check out what we can do and what the possibilities are for rural electric cooperatives and municipal utilities. And then we had a big announcement last week that it was a new partnership with Gresco Technology Solutions, Gresco being one of the top utility equipment and service distributors in the Southeast for pretty much all the power utilities in that region. They have now partnered with us to be our first distributor of Linebird products direct to utilities, making that friction of selling to large enterprise utilities much easier for us, and making utilities understand this is something that is real and possible and can have a lot of potential for their operations. And then last week, we had a lot of fun at the IEEE T&D trade show in New Orleans, where I talked about we had just announced the launch of that product, the installer. So you can see our booth over here. And then on the right, we actually had great interactions with some partner companies. And this is something really cool about Linebird, is our technology stands to accelerate adoption and use of a huge variety of other technologies and products that are already out there. In Clampstar's case, the ohm stick, which Dominion asked us to figure out, a drone solution for, helps diagnose bad connectors. And then Clampstar makes the best in industry solution for repairing those connectors with a 9-minute installation that can permanently restore the integrity of a power line and prevent it from ever falling down in that point again. So they love what we're doing so much, they're having their own international network of manufacturers reps push our product to their customers so that they can drive sales of their own products once their customers find out where their problems are and get the data they need to target efficiently. Now, just a quick run through. We've been, featured in Forbes. I was one of the next 1,000 up and coming early stage startup founders that they featured last year. Named one of 5 top energy startups developing robotic maintenance solutions by Start US Insights. And we've also been featured in some industry leading trade publications like T&D World and Utility Products. Now, where we go from here, this year is going to be all about sales and execution. So we just launched, we are looking to make our first, couple dozen customers adoption this year. And for our first customer, as a kind of a use case, they have over 7,500 miles of transmission lines in their network with 60,000 joints that they already test every year with the ohm stick. This is a little bit unique because most utilities can't use the ohm stick, this connection, this joint tester at scale because of the cost of using helicopters and bucket trucks to do it. But for this utility, they make that investment and they still have 17,000 joints on their network that they can't reach with current methods due to safety considerations. So we estimate right now they spend over $6 million a year on helicopter operations with over 1,400 hazardous man hours a year for their contractors doing that work. Once they move over to Linebird solution for an upfront investment of less than $250,000, they're going to be able to do that same work for less than a quarter of what they were doing before, with most importantly, 0 hazardous man hours. And that's the most important thing for us, is making this utility work safer, easier, and more accessible for power utilities. So that's where we are, that's where we come from, and that's where we're going. And I think I also did okay on time. So now we're ready for questions.
Great, thanks so much. That was fascinating, Michael. It really was. So I want to start off with I just want to remind everyone that if you want to ask a question, where is it? Sorry about that. There we go. To send your questions to me on this chat, we'll get them asked and stuff. But I want to ask a question first, kind of an overview question. Well, first I want to ask a question to both Tom and to Michael specific. So Tom, when will we see drones from Walmarts here in the Richmond region or Hampton Roads region? When will I be able to, at my house, dial up, my computer and get delivery of a Walmart near my house?
Well, our rollout plan is confidential, but I can tell you that if you live in the Richmond area and you live in the right place, that you could see delivery in August of this year. Not saying we're rolling out to 3 locations in the Richmond area, but if we were going to roll out to 3 locations in the Richmond area, I would anticipate that would be sometime around last week of July, first week of August.
Gotcha. And Michael, so let me ask you on your business, would I see your product out there on Dominion? Because Dominion's using your product, correct?
So it's a long process, and like Tom, I'm also bound by confidentiality on some things, but I would say it's highly likely that you will see, if not in your neighborhood, then maybe in a rural area near you, drones using Linebird products to do invasive inspections of power lines before the end of this year.
Gotcha. Okay, good. So to both of you, let me just open up a question. When did you guys have that aha moment? That moment when you knew that this was going to really change change the business model or change something. I mean, Michael, maybe you want to start off. Give us a sense when you were at VCU. This was part of a research project you were doing. So when did you have that aha moment that you knew this was really going to be something?
Well, I kind of need to point to 2 different aha moments, because the first one was, I think, actually the very moment right at the beginning where I walked into the office of, who at the time was Dominion's manager for electric transmission and forestry. And he asked me to do this, and it hit me that, wow, this is real. This is a top guy at a top power company saying this is a problem. And if we can build this, there's going to be something really valuable here. And then the second aha moment came actually, I would say, in the first year after we had the original invention and the first product, where we realized that, the focus of the company and what we're doing really shouldn't be about this one first use case of, using ohm sticks to inspect joints and prevent power lines from falling down. As valuable as that is, the fact that we realized that we had invented a new way of thinking about how you access overhead electric infrastructure, from transmission lines, distribution lines, to even substations, and all the work that gets done on those systems right now with manned crews could be moved to drones with the technology that we had developed. So when we realized that, we realized that the potential for this was orders of magnitude bigger than anything we had modeled before.
So Tom, what about you? When was that aha moment that you knew that this concept would really work?
Oh, I'll let you know. I think for in many ways for us, it was when Walmart gave us the opportunity to do the deliveries with the COVID test kit. And if you remember back, this was in 2019. I tell everybody back in 2019, you had a better chance of getting hit by a stray golf ball sitting in your bathroom than you did of the news media running a positive story about drones. All of the news, all of the press, everything was negative. There was a lot of talk about Chinese-made drones, a lot of talk about privacy, airports that were having to shut down flights. I mean, everything was negative. And I think when we did the operation, the first one we launched in North Las Vegas, and then when we got down to El Paso and we were actually operating drones out of El Paso and out of the Walmart in El Paso, the same Walmart that had the shooting just a couple of years, just right before that. And suddenly you saw a shift in the narrative of drones, and that they did have some positive ways in which they could impact society. And then once we got down and we opened the first location in Farmington, people were lining up, cars pulling up. When are you going to be delivering to our house? And how can we sign up and get this? I think there's just been this kind of transitional moment in time of how people viewed and accepted drones. And so I don't think there was a single moment. I think, I always tell my team, we're not flying any mission accomplished flags yet. You're not even allowed to look at the flag catalog. And so I think we're still working our way through, but there's certainly been an uptick. I mean, look, when companies in our industry are growing at 1,000%, that's not atypical for companies to start doing that. Just like Michael's company. I mean, once they start growing, it's going to be crazy. I mean, as they're growing and that adoption happens, it's going to be a waterfall. And I think we're at that inflection point now, but I don't know that I could point to a single specific point in time.
So Tom, while you have the floor, so to speak, we do have a question from Barry. Barry wanted to know, and this is a great question because I had the same question. What's the maximum weight that the drone could carry from a Walmart store? And you mentioned that Hamburger Helper is the most popular product, I guess, but what are some of the other things that you're carrying? So there's kind of two questions there, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So to kind of show you how fast we've iterated, when we were delivering the COVID test kits in 2019, our capacity was 1 pound. Late last year, we made it to 5 pounds. We're at 10 pounds now. We anticipate 15 pounds by when the next generation of our drone comes out, which is actually, I'm looking out my window watching it being tested in the test field behind us. I think it'll be actually out in the Walmarts in the end of this month, first of next month. So right now we're operating at a 3 mile range with a 10, about to be 15 pound capacity. And some of the other things that are ordered, it's a great question. Because we deliver all day and now we're delivering at night as well, things shift. So a lot of easy to make food products, and the Walmart analyst team has kind of determined the reason for that is people get home, it's after work, they got a couple of options. They got Uber Eats, DoorDash, and those things, which for a family of 4 or 5 can easily be 40, 50, 60 bucks, right? By the time you order it, they can order from us. Delivery fees only $3.99. They can get what they need to feed their family. Typically, a typical order is under $20, including the delivery. And by the way, there's no tip because it's hard to tip the drone in the air. So if you think about that, mac and cheese is number 2. Interestingly, weird one. Number 3 is kiwi. We haven't quite figured the outlier out on that one. I don't know if it's just Northwest Arkansas people like kiwi, but 4 and 5 are the ones you would expect. Children's Motrin is very, very popular. And then diapers, especially after 7 o'clock. After 7 o'clock, the orders tend to be predominantly diapers and You put two and two together and you figure that one out. Makes sense. We're about to launch, we're going to start delivering over-the-counter medications and certain prescription medications. We think that's going to be, significantly have a significant demand as well. And we'll be testing that in Northwest Arkansas and Dallas, Fort Worth, and Richmond. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe those might be areas where we would test that, perhaps.
So Tom, let me just ask you too. So logistically, when someone orders something online, they have a menu of items that are available for drone delivery. Not everything in a Walmart store, I would guess, but certain items that would meet your either 5 or 10 pound requirement. And then is there a fee for that on top of the product? Because there's no tipping, as you said, but is there a fee, and where is it delivered? Is it designated? I want in the front yard, I want in the backyard.
Yeah, so there is a $3.99 delivery fee. We do run specials like during the Arkansas Mississippi game. We did every time Arkansas scored or had an interception or kicked a field goal, we delivered items to people, and that was free. But yeah, there's an app they can go to. I think it's droneupdelivery.com. It's a mobile site you can go to right now and put in your address. It tells you if you're in a delivery area, and then there's between 18 and 25,000 SKUs in there that you can order from. And as long as they fit in a box, if it makes multiple boxes, you pay 2 delivery fees. But the average delivery, you think about it right now, the average delivery that Amazon does, over 90% of their deliveries is less than 3 pounds. So, what we're delivering is in the range of those on-demand delivery items. Yeah, we're not going to be delivering televisions anytime soon, but I wouldn't say never.
So Michael, let me ask you, what do you think the state of drone technology is in the energy industry? Where is the greatest opportunity? Where are the challenges that you're seeing in that area?
Great question, Greg. And actually, I was pleased to see Tom call it out a little bit on that chart of his with all the different industry verticals and construction, utilities, logistics, all of that there. Utilities are, as they often are, slow and steady. So utilities began exploring adoption of drone technology about 10 years ago. They've finally gotten to the stage where some of the major players are really leading the charge on adoption and integration into their business model. And there's a couple different ways that they're doing it. Sometimes they'll have, third-party contractors that they outsource the work to, like DroneUp, to come in and perform utility inspections. Sometimes they'll have an internal crew, a dedicated base of drone pilots that gets called out to do inspections, to do work. And some of them are doing a distributed model where they're looking at, just like any other tool, a drone in every truck, so that when a lineman is going out into the field, he doesn't have to call and wait for someone else to show up. He has a drone already available, next to his power tools and everything else, that he can just put in the air to get eyes in the sky on something. And we hope one day also, do some hands-on work from the drone as well. It's getting, now that the major players are picking it up more rapidly, the smaller players are starting to follow along. So you'll see more rural cooperatives, municipal utilities, smaller IOUs also beginning to adopt technology and get their own pilots trained up. Start evaluating what the types of technologies they want in their fleet, whether it's LiDAR, infrared, visual, things like that. And I'll also say that for the energy industry, they're very interested in what we're doing as well, and the possible applications once you actually can do hands-on work. There are some people doing hands-on work on stuff that's not high voltage. For example, the top skinny line you see on a power line is actually not energized. That's what's called the ground line or the shield wire. And there's a lot of work being done with drones, working and putting things on those. And when you get to high voltage, everyone's coming to look to us and our patent pending technology for what can I do, in place of sending a guy out in a helicopter or a truck, to go and get hands-on with high voltage.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. So Michael, this is for you and for Tom, both of you, but you both are here. You guys are stars in the drone industry. What can Virginia do more to help boost drone technology and development. What, could we have a cluster of drone activity here in these two markets?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump out on that. I like what you're doing with the roads. One of the things, and Tom Franz is on here, and I owe him a big thank you, and the state too, because you have to remember, this all started with us with the Lawrenceville project. When we went to Lawrenceville and we did Operation Last Mile in the middle of the pandemic, we got support from the state. We got support from the artist formerly known as CIT. It's now VIPC. And that really put us on the map and got us started. And I would say I've been very appreciative to Go Virginia and all the different programs in the area for understanding our plight and sticking with us. But it's interesting for me to say this as an unmanned aviation guy. There's two things. Number one is, because we kind of have a gateway to the largest customer in the world, we have, if you're going to sell any drone or drone related technology, you pretty much got to go through us. We're leveraging that by saying, if you want to be a partner with us, then you've got to have a presence here in Virginia. So we're trying to help build that economic cluster by having our partners be here in Virginia. But the second thing that's interesting is we are also in collaboration and in doing projects where we're combining what we're doing in the air in unmanned aviation to autonomous vehicles on the ground. So data sharing between the two to help them route more efficiently, and in turn provide them with certain microclimate data or certain AI tools that tell them, how to dynamically reroute while they're in the middle of deliveries. That kind of intersection of those two technologies has created an interesting opportunity for us to attract autonomous vehicles and electric vehicle companies to the area. The problem right now is there's some concerns and questions about being able to do kind of cross-state operations, middle mile to last mile things, because of certain roads and certain conditions that need to be resolved that aren't currently funded to the level that need to be resolved. So it's funny. I think sometimes people are surprised when I say, I'm interested in the 64 project because it actually will help me in terms of bringing an economic cluster around unmanned, not just aerial, but on the ground as well.
Yeah, I'll jump off of that. Definitely echoing everything Tom said. The fantastic support of Go Virginia, and I think it was Bill Fredericks of Advanced Aircraft Systems who coined the term, the artist formerly known as VIPC, as CIT, providing great support to unmanned systems here in Virginia. But we do already have, a good group of drone companies coming up, and there's more on the way, all because of the fantastic support of the state. For what can be done going forward, I think, from my perspective, at least, for Linebird's growth and the growth of drones in the energy industry, it's going to be almost all about education. Marketing, creating a positive image of drones in the public for the things that they can do, the values they can provide to the general public, easier delivery, avoiding last mile problems, avoiding traffic, creating safer work conditions, preventing utility outages, all massive, massive benefits that the public may not really be aware of. And, if they see a drone flying past their house, they might be feeling more suspicious than they are, comforted by the fact that there's a camera flying around near them and they don't know who it is. Not the fact that that's saving someone having to risk their neck to keep their lights on or do something like that. And it's also, education, not just with the public, but also with businesses in Virginia, on the adoption side, because a lot of people think of drones as this kind of specialized skill set that, if you're a drone pilot, you're just a drone pilot, you just fly a drone around, that's all you do. Really, it's time to start thinking about drones as another tool in the toolbox that, just like your, power drills or other things like that, drones are capable of so much more than just taking pictures. And people need to realize the possible applications of unmanned aerial vehicles for each of their own business models. You could be, a cupcake manufacturer, a bakery, and drone delivery has huge potential for you, not just on the delivery side, but even on the supply side, helping bring things, from your vendors into your shop. And there's just this, it's a tired pun in this industry, but the sky really is the limit for what applications can be found and, what innovations are possible once people start thinking about drones as a lot more than just eyes in the sky.
I love that pun, Michael. That's a great one. So let me ask real quick, Tom, and Michael, if you want to tap into this, but Tom, during your presentation, you talked about having a head count of over 600 employees by the end of this year. Are they all going to be here in Virginia? Are they going to be in Hampton Roads? Are they going to be in Richmond?
40% of them will be in Virginia. 60% will be outside of Virginia. But I will tell you one other exciting thing. We haven't announced it publicly, and I can only, but it's coming soon, is we're going to be opening the first of its kind drone operator training facility. And all of the, it looks pretty likely, and I know Tom Franz is probably giggling and smiling a little bit. It looks very highly likely that that's going to be here in Virginia. And that's going to be interesting because it's going to employ quite a few people at the training facility, but it's also going to bring people from all over the country and all over the world, for that matter, here into Virginia for training. Some of those people will stay here and get advanced up through the program. Some of them will leave and go back out, but come back for advanced training. And so almost all of those will be in Virginia at some point, either here full-time employees at the corporate headquarters in the training facility, or we'll cycle through here and get a chance to see the beautiful state that we live in. So they'll all be here for a minute.
Great. So Tom and Mike, real quick, just because we only have a few more minutes, can you give us, your three takeaways? What are the three things you want each of the people on this webinar to take away from? Briefly. Go ahead, Michael.
All right, I'll think quick on my feet here. So I'd say three main things. One, Virginia is becoming, a massive home for drones in the U.S., becoming distinguished, for a great place to do business, great place to do drone business. Two, that, the applications and the, breadth of what is possible with drone technologies has only begun to be discovered, that there is much more out there, many more opportunities for entrepreneurs, for businesses, for innovators, for universities to all take on and expand the possibilities of this technology going forward. And three, I'll say that, with regards to infrastructure in particular being a hot topic these days, be on the lookout for, not just on our own side, but unmanned aerial systems in general, big moves in innovation and deployment and rollout of new technologies for the improvement of resiliency and decarbonization of infrastructure, particularly through the help of the recent infrastructure bill that's being passed and managed by DOE.
All right, Tom.
All right, number one, drones can be used for good, and we don't need to be scared of them. Two, we have a real opportunity to develop an economic cluster around unmanned systems in Virginia. There's a lot of things here that make it work for us. Having access to the military, being able to do tests like we're doing strategically between an international airport and a large naval air base, being able to support wind farm operations and drones and drone inspections, and then ultimately the blend over and the bleed over between what we're doing with our technology and with the military's technology. So I think I would love to see the organizations, economic organizations in the region, continue to invest into unmanned systems and attracting them there. The more that are here, the easier it is for us to hire. The easier it is for us to attract people here because they have more than one option for job opportunities other than just our two companies. And then the third thing, takeaway, and I know it sounds cliche, but I'm thankful for the opportunity to share this and talk about this. I think a lot of people don't know what we're doing. They don't know the impact that organizations like Michael and I are trying to have on the region. And so I'm grateful to your organization and the multiple organizations that have supported us. And if anyone has any questions or wants to talk about anything, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Hey, well, thank you so very much for both of you for being part of this webinar today. Great information, totally fascinating. I can't wait, Tom, before I see those drones hovering over my house from the Walmart store, and Michael, seeing your drone, you're doing the same thing with the power lines. So, let me just briefly tell everybody what's next. Just reminded that this recorded link will be up on our website sometime in the next couple of weeks. And also coming up in October 13th and 14th, we have an interregional 2-day tour of the RVA and 757 regions with an overnight in Williamsburg. I think it'll be a great opportunity for folks. And then next month on June 7th will be our next Innovation Spotlight. This is going to be on the importance and growth of transportation logistics in the I-64 Innovation Corridor. We have a good panel set up. We have Joe Rudy from the Virginia International Terminals, Matt Anderson and Lang Williams, both with Colliers International, one from the Richmond office, one from the Norfolk office. We have Bill Hudgens from Pantanoni Development Company, and then Ting Zhu, who is the co-founder and chairwoman from Evergreen Enterprises, all talking about all of the importance and the growth of the logistics in our corridor. Here are some ways that you can help. Follow us, let us know if you want to be added to our database, or if you know people that want to be added to our database, suggest some innovation spotlight topics for the future. Invite us to talk to your business organization group. Thank you again for attending this webinar. Again, thank you to Michael and to Tom. You guys are just awesome. Very fascinating information. Appreciate it, you all, for what you do for us. Thank you again. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.